password command. How did he do that? Well, the secret lies if we look at the permissions of the actual password utility or the password command. The password command is located in the user bin directory. Okay, so let's look at this, and let's look at the permissions on this file. Okay, first you can see that it's executable by everybody on the system. Okay, all the group, all the others' permissions are executed on this file. So everybody can run this file. But then let's look at root's permissions on this file. Root can read this file and also S this file. What does S mean? Well, S means that it has set UID permissions. So what happens is, when a normal user runs this program, and they're allowed to run the program because it has execute access, when they run the program, at some instant in the program, when they need to write to this file to change the encrypted version of the password, they are setting their user ID to be the user ID of the file, which is root. So all of a sudden, they have root access for that instant when they write the file. That's what the S stands for, that for some instant you get the root access to this file. Okay? Now, in old Unix systems, this was a real security flaw, because what people would do is they would run some command that had set UID permissions, and then what they would do is they would suspend operation right in the middle somehow. And then, since they suspended operation right in the middle, they would have root access to do whatever else they wanted on the system. Okay, so that was an old security flaw. Now it's been pretty much cleaned up, and anything that has set UID permission, if it's a user, like if it's a regular Unix utility, then it's okay, all right? But if you see some other utility in the system, some unnecessary program, like we were talking about those programs that you should remove from the system, if you see some unknown program and it has set UID permissions, then you should definitely get rid of it, because probably it's been set up as some sort of a backdoor into your system. Okay, so like I said, the set UID permission is pretty safe on all the built-in utilities, but if it's some other utility, then you should definitely get rid of that. Let's wrap up this nugget with a review of what we talked about. We talked all about the administration of file systems and security in Linux. First, we talked about mounting and managing file systems and partitions and devices on your system. And to do that, we learned the commands makefs to make a file system or format a disk. Then we talked about the fdisk command and the fscheck commands. And don't forget, all three of these commands can be really dangerous and wipe out data on your disk. So be sure you know exactly what you're doing before you use those. Then we talked about the mount and unmount commands, and then we talked about the df and du commands to examine how much space was used in your file systems and on your disks. Then we talk about the security in a Linux system. First, we mentioned some best practices, things like removing dormant accounts and getting users to pick good passwords, things like that. And then we moved on and talked about the risks involved in a Linux system, things like the set UID permissions and unknown programs floating around. And especially, you should be really leery of unknown programs with set UID permissions. And don't forget security measures like locking the server room door and things like that. Sometimes these common sense security measures are the best security measures you can take to keep your Linux system secure. Well, I hope you found this nugget informative, and thanks again for viewing.